Hi, everyone. Amanda from Little Lotus Yoga, and I am so excited to have Lindsay Taylor, who you might also know as the Food Doula, who will be joining us today to chat specifically about nutrition and cesarean births. As we know, April is Cesarean Awareness Month, but this is really a topic that I think I could speak for Lindsay that we are both passionate about ensuring that you have resources and the cesarean birth awareness continues all year around. And so today we're chatting with Lindsay to really talk about how we can best support you if you are having a cesarean birth when it comes to nutrition, to help with your recovery, constipation, all of those great things that the books often don't tell us about, but we really need to know as birthing people. So, Lindsay, I would love for you to share a little bit with us of who you are and what do you do?
Sure. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for the opportunity to chat about this. I love that we're talking C-section recovery today, because as you said, the practical part of food and the important part of nutrition and the reality of things like constipation, we usually go into it not being prepared for that. So thank you for the opportunity to chat about it. So my name is Lindsay Taylor. As Amanda said, I'm the food doula, and I'm a pre and postnatal nutrition coach, doula, and cookbook author. So my first cookbook, the Food Doula Cookbook, actually just came out. So it's like my third baby. So I'm also a mom. I have two little girls at home, and what I feel really called to do is not just talk about nutrition in a way that makes you feel like I'm the pregnancy or postpartum food police, but in a way that makes it actually work for your real life, to understand like what are some of the key foods and how do you make it work with your go-to meal routines and the foods that you actually like and what's practical for your family.
I love that. And I love the practicality of it. Because I know, sometimes we might pick up cookbooks and it's like, I have no idea how to even start to make that or where to purchase those ingredients. Right. Or that's going to take 5 hours to make something that I'm going to enjoy for like 15, 20 minutes. And so I think using your book as a resource is so fantastic for expecting parents to prepare as their baby comes. For those who have maybe had a baby recently can still benefit from it. Makes a great baby shower gift, I think, as well, giving people, real gifts that they're actually going to need and use, and not necessarily just another onesie that their babies might never even wear.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's so funny that you said that, because that practicality is everything. When I first wrote the book, I sent it to one of my mentors, the person I respect so much in the nutrition world. And she was like, this is just plain doable. And I was like, that is the best possible thing that you could ever say about this. Doable, like food that you actually have in your pantry. I have like a full color recipe photo for every single recipe. It's not fancy food, right? It's like food that actually tastes good, that's going to help you be nourished and just feel better. Because that's the other thing that I think we're missing a lot is when we hear things about nutrition for pregnancy and postpartum, we hear a lot of like, don't do this, or this is good for baby. But what I like to talk about is like how you feel matters too, and how you heal, after your birth or your cesarean, and how you thrive and your energy levels. Those things matter just as much as giving those nutrients to baby.
And how we're fueling our bodies as birthing people. Our babies can feel that energy or lack of energy with how we're feeling. So if we're eating really cruddy food, which I understand, like sometimes it's like, I just need to grab something quick because I haven't prepared, or I don't have, I don't know where to look to fuel my body properly. When you're doing that on repeat over and over and over, it slows down that postpartum recovery. You feel really lethargic and ick, and baby feels that energy from mom as well. So, we always tell our clients, look at all aspects of your birth plan. And even if you're not going in for a scheduled cesarean birth, we might still have a cesarean birth. And so plan for what it's going to look like in the postpartum period if the possibility is there that you might have a cesarean birth. So when it comes to nutrition and planning for food and, helping us in a recovery aspect, what should people be doing to plan for the postpartum period, whether they have a cesarean birth or not?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And as you said, and as a postpartum doula, Often it's the second time parents that realize, like, I thought I needed all these things, but what I actually needed in the moment is food, and food that's actually going to fuel you a little more than like just grabbing crackers 24/7 like I did after my first baby. So planning for what meals and snacks can you make before you have baby that can sit in your freezer so that you don't need to cook for at least the first couple of weeks. So you can do a day or two, or ask family or friends to prep some food for you so that your freezer is stocked. So that takes care of the practical piece, which is you might not be able to spend the time and energy cooking when you're newly postpartum, no matter how you gave birth, but the types of foods you eat are going to be incredibly important to how your body heals. So we want to speed up healing. We want to prevent poor recovery. We want to make sure we're getting in those nutrients that not only help our tissues repair themselves, but like help our energy levels, help our breast milk come in, avoid constipation. So I'll talk about some specific foods and meals that support those things, but it's also that practical piece of not having to worry about it and knowing that you can grab something out of the freezer, throw it in a pot or throw it in the stove with zero prep work, and then know that you are eating well in a way that's going to support your body during that time.
I love that. And I know, when I was pregnant with my first many years ago, I remember thinking like, well, my husband's going to be around, so he'll be able to cook. Or no, we learned very quickly. Yeah. It was like a 2-person job on that baby to do all of the things. And so the time I thought, oh, he'll be able to cook and make these things, by baby number 2 and 3, we were like, stock that freezer, have everything easy to grab and go, because it just makes life so much easier in that postpartum period. So what are some types of foods or things should people be looking at to help support them when it comes to recovery after a cesarean birth?
Yeah, such a good question. So the foods that I recommend the most to get prepped in advance and make like a batch cook, like when we're prepping for our freezer for postpartum, you want to be making 2, 3, 4 servings of things, freezing them in family-sized containers, and also single-sized servings, because sometimes you just need something, just you, in the middle of the night or in the middle of the afternoon when you are hungry, especially if you're breastfeeding. So what I recommend most is broth-based, soft cooked protein-rich meals. So I'm talking things like bone broth, stew, soups, curries, anything that you can make with bone broth specifically, because when you make bone broth, which is basically just done by simmering bones and connective tissues, veggies, whatever you've got in water, is all of the amazing amino acids, including one called glycine, infuses into that broth. And glycine and those other amino acids are exactly what your tissues need to repair. So when we go through birth, no matter how you give birth, you're going to have actual wounds that need to be healed. You're going to have tissues that need to repair. And those nutrients, specifically the glycine, but also protein, is going to be your body's main building blocks for repair. And then the other reason I really like broth-based, soft-cooked, whether you do vegetarian stews or whether you add some beef in there or shredded chicken in like a chicken noodle soup. The key there is soft, already broken down foods. And this is for a number of reasons. So when you go through a cesarean birth or really any type of birth, what happens is your body, it goes into like survival mode, and it's focused on getting you through the task at hand, so the birth. So there's less energy in your body for things like your digestive system functioning well. And so what that often means for so many of us is that you get constipated. And that can be really scary after you've had any type of birth and your tissues, your abdomen, and everything's feeling very vulnerable. We don't want to worry about constipation. And unfortunately, especially with a cesarean birth, your risk of constipation is a lot higher, and it can be really painful and uncomfortable. So what we want to do is take the pressure off so our digestive system doesn't have to do much work. So we want to, of course, we want to eat high fiber foods, which are really great for avoiding constipation. But when we think fiber, we often think like foliage and veggies. And yes, those are great, but we don't want to have our body spend so much energy breaking those down. So instead of like going for raw veggies and salads and things like that, which you probably don't have time to cook post C-section anyway, we want those soft, already pre-cooked veggies that are going to be easy for our body to digest, not just to help with constipation, but because broken down veggies and proteins actually make it easier for our body to absorb the nutrients in that food. And that's what we want more than anything, because that supports our healing. It supports our body to replete all the nutrients that we just freely gave away to baby throughout the whole pregnancy, and set us up for better healing. So that's really my number one thing, is go for those soups, stews, curries, or even just bone broth. If you make tons of bone broth and freeze it in little mason jars and you drink it all day, awesome.
And bone broth is, I mean, it's so underrated, and people think, oh, bone broth, but I'm like, have it in your house. It's so easy to put in like a travel mug. So it's safe to have around baby all the time. Cause sometimes we're like, hands are trying to juggle multiple things. It'll stay warm throughout the day. You can have that to nourish you, have it as a meal. You can have it, as a snack throughout. And I love the idea too of, freezing stuff in that smaller size just for mom to grab and go, because we often don't think about that when we wake up at 2 a.m. and maybe baby's awake for 2 hours because they're deciding to party, and your body might say, okay, I'm really hungry. Like now I'm wide awake and it feels like breakfast time, but what am I going to make right now? And to be able to pop something just in the oven or the microwave to reheat and to use that way. But I'm thinking too, also to bring into the hospital. I mean, where,
Yes.
you and I are in Canada, there's a lot of lockdown. The hospital system's very different now, in that people can't necessarily be coming and going. Being able to put that in your cooler to take to the hospital with you and have nourishing meals after birth can be a game changer. Please, anyone listening, do not think that what they give you at the hospital after you give birth is like the meal plan that you should be following. It often causes more constipation and issues. So being able to bring things with you that is going to help to set you up for success afterwards can be really helpful for people too.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
Constipation, I think it's something that's taboo, and sometimes we're afraid to talk about. The reality is constipation happens in the postpartum period. Are there foods and things people should be avoiding? We talked about things that are really helpful, but are there things when it comes to constipation that it's like, try not to eat that? It's probably just going to make it worse for you.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And so when I think of like post-birth friendly foods, I'm thinking of those soft cooked foods and then like birth friendly fiber. So we mentioned the soft cooked foods in the broths, but then it's things like that have not only fiber, but some great fats as well. So things like avocado can be a really great thing to have that can be helpful with constipation. Looking for uses for other great fats like a good grass-fed butter or a ghee or coconut oil, adding that to your toast or drizzling it on your pasta or whatever it is that you're eating. We often think fiber and fluid for constipation, but there's a third F that's really important, which is those fats. And then in a third category would be things like fermented foods. So can you add onto your plate like a little bit of sauerkraut or kimchi? If you just have a jar in the fridge, can you like dollop some on top of your soup or on top of your toast, even if you have it? So it's more important to get in more of those digestion friendly foods than it is really to like not eat in certain foods or watch what you're eating in certain way.
I love it. And those things you mentioned, like the avocado and the coconut oil, like those are all super simple things that people can throw into their smoothies as well. Like if they love their smoothies, or like a, chia yogurt pudding bowl, those sort of things, like to add in. It's a super easy grab and throw it in and away you go.
Yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned chia there, because chia can be such a superfood post-birth. A lot of people aren't quite sure if it's a good thing post-birth, but it really is, because not only is it really high in fiber, it's very hydrating. So chia seeds, when you let them soak in water or like a nut milk to make a chia pudding, which is actually super easy, or in your smoothie, they can hold 10 to 15 times their weight in liquid. And so when it comes into your body, it doesn't just go straight through you. It acts as like a mucus, which sounds really gross, I know, but trust me, when it gels and it goes through your digestive system, it sort of picks up everything that needs to be eliminated, which can help you not only with constipation, but being truly hydrated as well, which is So important for healing, super important for every type of healing, for breastfeeding, for your mood, for energy, and of course, just for operating as a human.
I love it. So where can people find your book?
Yeah, so if you are in Canada, you can find it on Amazon.ca or Indigo. If you are in the US, you can find it on Amazon, or you can come see me over on Instagram. I'm at the.food.doula, and I've got a link in my bio which has all the different bookstores and things.
Amazing. And you are offering, I saw a special little giveaway. So if someone buys your book and leaves a review, can you fill us in on what's happening there?
For sure. I'm always trying to give things away on my Instagram. Honestly, I'm always giving away the book or giving away classes. So right now, like you said, if you get the book, and I'm encouraging reviews, what I have coming up that I want to give away for free is a series of cooking classes to get your freezer prep for postpartum. So I'll be doing 4 weeks in a row, 1 hour a week, talking about what types of foods to get in your freezer for things like healing those tissues, prepping for birth, breastfeeding, for just what essentials for life with a newborn. So I'll be actually cooking the foods, giving you all the tips. So the idea is to get that freezer stock together. So I'm going to be giving a few of those class passes away.
Amazing. I love it. I mean, who doesn't love free things? And especially too, when it's going to be so, that course, so beneficial to so many birthing and postpartum people. So please, those watching, check it out. Follow Lindsay. She has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to helping to support you through the perinatal period. And I think now of all times, as we're in pandemic times, we need support more than ever. So to be able to expand our wellness toolbox and, know where to go when we need nutrition support to really fuel our bodies in a way that helps set us up, to feel supported during the perinatal period is really, really important. So I'm so thankful that you joined us here today. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm interested. I'm going to go, grab your book. I'm super keen to add it to my pre-postnatal library and make sure that we are fueling ourselves well. So thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure to chat.